Perfect. Let's try that all again. Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? I'm doing great now. I've unmuted myself and we're live for the Tuesday Ask Me Anything. Who knows what will appear tonight? There's a couple of things that I've been asked to chat about. Hey, how's it going? Welcome. This is great. You have a sweet little icon. Nice. Morning, evening. I'm counting on my nice headphones to keep my ears warm tonight. I'm sure, well, hopefully, we'll look back in a couple of weeks and I'll be like, yeah, cool. I got over my starting every session with being like, it's cold. I'm cold. Oh my gosh, what's happening? But I'm cold. I have warm headphones, a warm coat, and a hot coffee, so all is good. As per normal, feel free to fire anything into the chat. I have a couple of things tonight that people requested for me to talk about and go through on this live session, and one was I think, Adrian, it was you that asked me, I'm trying to remember who it was now, but I made a note about kind of like looking after yourself, I guess, in practice and musician life, different hours. How do you get your voice working on a day when it doesn't want to work? All those kind of bits and pieces. So I'm probably not the best example of this, but I do have a few things that really work for me. Coffee is, I'm sure if you look it up, not recommended. To just drink lots of coffee and you'll sound amazing. But okay, speaking vocally, let's start there. And yeah, thanks for joining and jumping on with my acoustic masterclass. Perfect. I hope it well exceeds, or at least lives up to, your expectations. Just chatting a little bit about some things I do vocally, and one of the big ones for me has been learning to get my tongue to relax, especially at the back of my throat, letting it just actually stop trying to help. And the more it stops trying to help, the more I get nervous that, because I'm not controlling things, I get nervous of being like, how's my voice going to pan out? But when I let go of that, then that's when I have my best vocal days, which is interesting. So one of the things I do is, and I possibly have talked about it on this channel, I'm sure I have in some video somewhere along the way, but I poke my tongue out and bite my teeth down on it so that it's kind of held in place, and it can't fight too much. Which, should we do a side-on view? And then you kind of by default make a bit of a sound. So this is a perfect start, isn't it? To anyone that's just tuned in now, it could be really questionable what you've tuned into. There's just some guy on your screen with his tongue out, moving his neck around to really let that throat and the back of the tongue stretch. But if you have just tuned in, then it probably does look a little interesting. Oh yeah. And actually, I was explaining to my dad tonight that I do this often if I'm on the way to a show. I do this when I'm stopped at the traffic lights, because when you're driving, you need to watch where you're going. But who knows? I probably have appeared on on some people's Snapchats or Instagram stories, or maybe there's a TikTok or two of me floating around. But I find that is such a good one, and because my teeth are holding my tongue in place, I kind of have to let go, and sometimes I feel my throat kind of wanting to fight that. But that's been a super, super useful one. The I have a couple little exercises on the guitar that I do. Whee! Look at that. Speaking, this is what happens, by the way, and it's a good thing. As much as every time it does when something like that happens with my voice and it kind of breaks, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like 12 and 13 again. It's actually it's those muscles like letting go and relaxing and leaving out the control factor of what I'm doing. So if that happens for you, don't judge it, just let it happen and realize that it's finally maybe those muscles are letting go somewhat. Also, as I'm saying all this, feel free to like comment and fire things if you want to, ask about anything specific. And then moving on to the guitar side of things, there is one little stretch that I do if there's nothing I get the chance to do before playing, if it's really kind of tight timing wise for warming up, is this little finger stretch, and it's a major 7th shape. So just walking down, I'm tuned to E flat. This is the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th frets, and each time I'm dropping down a string, and I just play through them and then move just your index finger down, just your 2nd finger down, just your 3rd finger down, just your 4th finger down. And as you go further down the frets, it gets harder and you get more of a stretch. So go to wherever you feel comfortable, but you can also, if you get to somewhere that's difficult, you can walk up again. So that's what you'll likely find me doing before a show. Or if there's something in particular that I'm playing that is challenging for me or I've been working on, I will play it super slowly before the show. I won't ever, well, I'm not going to say not ever, but typically I won't try and play anything remotely close to tempo. I will sit there and just groove, just feel it and enjoy it and be like, just nice. And what it does, it has me feel confident and calm. Just, again, speaking for myself, I can't speak for anyone else, but that is kind of what I do on the guitar. And the last thing, seeing as we're kind of talking about this whole picture, if I get the chance somewhere before that, I'll actually just sit still, and I have, headphones on. I basically put on like a little meditation sound that I have, and I will just sit absolutely still and just zoning out from everything that's around me, allowing myself to actually just like stop. and it kind of, I guess, centers me and just has me like stop, so that when I open my eyes, or I usually set a timer, and it might be for 4 or 5 minutes sometimes, just because there really isn't a lot of time to stop. But it has me then just kind of like be in the present place, be in the venue, be in that mode of like, right, I'm about to go and perform, and kind of like calm but excited rather than just nervous and agitated, excited. So hey Florian, how's it going? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are in the world. Do I play electric guitar as well? I do. I've said this before, I really enjoy it, but I keep coming back to acoustic as my my main thing. Marcus, yeah, I do. Absolutely I do. But I usually, when I create set lists or songs, I create a very loose version of what I'm going to say. And the reason for me doing that is because it's live, and I don't want to have something set up in my head that I'm expecting from an audience response or not. So with various songs, yeah, I have a little flavor of maybe a lead on from one song going into the next, or a little story that there's look, I joke with people, and if you've seen me live, you will have seen me probably say this at some point, is I tell the audience basically, I'm like, look, if anyone out there in the audience tonight is trying to get up the courage to break up with someone and you just can't do it, then there is a version of this on YouTube that you can just send them the link in. It should do the trick. So there's very, there's little things like that it's not going to come out the same every time. It's not totally scripted, but in saying that, like, I might say it, I might not before the song. And so I guess it's like me feeling the vibe from the audience on whether I'll share that or whether I might say something entirely different about the song, or we just go in and play the next tune. So yeah, scripted, no, but planned, yes. Hey, meet my band. Hey, Alex, how's it going? I presume you're Alex. Welcome. Good morning, Louisa. Nice to have you here. Yeah, this is nice, and you don't know this yet, but we're getting an upgrade for next week. So I'm going to be able to share with you what I'm doing on a loop pedal in the same screen while we talk about this, which is going to be super cool. I'm really looking forward to that, and I think it will make these sessions more valuable for you. We can actually go from picking apart specific things with looping or with the Voice Live 3, because I know there's a bunch of you that have the Voice Live 3s as well, which will be cool. So we can actually dig in and have it all on screen rather than me trying to move a laptop around for you. So that's cool. Where's everyone from tonight? There's some new faces I don't think I've seen before, which is great. I'm curious. Hey, how's it going? Where are you from, and what's the current temperature? Good morning. I think it's about 11 degrees Celsius here, so I'm not quite sure what that translates to for those of you that are working in Fahrenheit. Who knows? But yeah. 16. It's beautiful. It's tropical. Love it. I dream of going back to 16. Oh, nice. You're in Dubai. Cool. Is music happening in Dubai at the moment, Louisa? Oh, Marcus, we're about 13, but was 30 yesterday. Okay, well, today you're about the same as me, but I would appreciate a 30-degree day. Nice. Look, it's like 11 or 12 here, so yeah, we're the same. Musical? What's your name, by the way? I'm curious. Should I know this? Yeah, curious if everyone's getting back into doing gigs and that sort of thing. It seems to start be. Oh, of course. Hey, man. Love it. I feel like Florian's the sneak that has various profiles and gets me confused. But Erickson, good to have you here, man. I was on a podcast early this morning talking about getting back into gigging, and one thing that came up, which I thought was super cool, it's if you want to go and check it out, by the way, go over to giggabpodcast.com. I believe that's right. Yeah, Gig Gab Podcast. In fact, I will put it in here for you, for those of you that are curious and wish to check it out. There's 262 episodes, so you will probably want a lot of spare hours commuting to work every day or something like that if you're going to go through them all. But yeah, it was a super cool thing. I had to listen to Dave and Paul chatting on their previous one as well. So I'm only, 1 or 2 episodes ahead of you if you haven't found them yet. Super cool guys. And the thing that I wanted to share that came up, Dave did his first live show again last week. And the thing that's shifting is we're also grateful to be playing live. There's not the thought of, at any stage, like, oh man, I've had a rough day. I've got to pack up and load all my gear. It's raining. I'm off to the gig. Like, it's just like, man, I really appreciate being able to play and share live with other people what we do as musicians, as artists, and it's the connection. We connect with other people, and I think that's pretty magic. But he says that towards the end. He says it much better than I have just there. So go and listen to him talking about it. It's really kind of heartwarming, and I think a good perspective for us to have of what we do and what we're sharing. Nice, Alex. Cool. I look. It's super nice seeing that. It's kind of get shared around, and it went up on Spotify this week, which is cool. Agusalam, hi, how's it going? Michael, welcome. And yeah, seeing people jamming along, doing some improv in the wonderful key of A flat minor, because I'm tuned to E flat. So that's very nice, and I appreciate you all. It's one of those things. It's really nice when you're getting joy out of it. Well, I get joy seeing that from you all as well. So that's very cool from my perspectives. Erickson, we're gonna have to change your channel's name to more accurately reflect your wonderful skills in playing. What do you reckon? That's the old you, my friend. That's the old you. Welcome everybody. It's right. This is an update on the mighty state of the world in Dubai. It's restarting. Cool. Borders are opening again next week to tourists, so situation should improve. Yeah, it's tourism, I think, all across the board. It's local people doing local things right now here in New Zealand as well. Our borders are still closed, even though we're free to roam around. September, nice. Cool. Marcus, vocal exercises. Yeah, cool. Let's do that. Cool. Okay, cool. I took it totally the wrong way, but that's very cool, my friend. Right. Looking at, we kind of started off, and I did the basics of what I do for, I guess, like just healthy maintenance of guitar flexibility and stretching and skills. And then, hey, Chomley, how's it going? Good evening. I put on some weird voices. I think I'm just quite odd sometimes, a lot of the time. But talking about what I do on the guitar to just kind of get into it and warm up and get things working. Also, just I purely stop and sit still if I get the chance at different moments before shows to just kind of like forget whatever else happened in the day and be present and be on stage. And then vocally, I poke my tongue out, hold it with my teeth, and make like an sound, whilst moving my neck around to actually stretch and let all those muscles relax. And you missed it, but I cracked a beautiful high when I was speaking before. If you weren't here, you missed it. Which the last one is exactly like that. And yeah, absolutely. If it can be a blessing if you end up then your voice cracks or breaks, or be careful if you're not used to this. Be just gentle and see how much of a stretch it is for yourself, but you'll start to learn and understand your own voice going through that. In terms of other vocal exercises, one of the things that started giving me some awareness, and if you look back to my old videos on YouTube, I actually shared a video where it was it's like, I look at it now, it's bad. It's me doing a guitar lesson on Red Red Wine by UB40. And if you listen to my singing, it's all quite breathy. So my vocal cords are not coming together cleanly there. There's a lot of air escaping, kind of like this. And so what happens by the end of the night, if you talk like this, I can feel it already, is you lose your voice. Not surprisingly, because it's very hard to create any volume or range or dynamics as well when you try and push more air out, which is it's got this breathy thing where the vocal cords are not coming together. So the way to understand, even if you do this, and let's hope I don't distort, but is to go between, if you do a loud, and again, if you're in an environment now that you can do this, you might upset a few people, but that's fine. Is basically let out a loud, just like and you're not worried. You hear that like my vocal cords are kind of like cracking a little bit. It's not about how it sounds, and it's not about what's happening. It's like, just let that come out. And then the other side is, let's now do a soft breathy kind of sound where it's like and the awareness is that you have a whole range from that to sound where those vocal cords are together to where your breath, they're opening up. There's still a bit of sound, but your breath escapes out. So it's something as well that I never understood when I was singing when I was a teenager. If I sang the note that was quite close to the top of my range, it would, hey, how's it going? Welcome everybody if you've just joined. When I sang a note that was close to the top of my range, I could hold that note for extremely long. It really surprised me. And now looking back, I realized what was happening was I felt like I had to sing it loud, and so I just went for it. And my vocal cords came together. And then by the fact of them being nice and tight together, not much air escapes. And so they're vibrating, they're on pitch, they're coming together nice and tight, I guess, if you like. There's not this breathy air escaping. And so I could hold that note for a very long time. And yeah, I couldn't seem to do it on lower notes in the middle of my range. And I didn't know why for a very, very long time. And so for those of you that are watching this, for those of you that have studied a bunch of stuff online, you'll know that I studied with Per Bristow. And I have so much love for that guy. He really helped me a lot. And I put in a bunch of work as well. Okay. So it's one of those things. If you have a great teacher, that's excellent. If you don't do anything, then okay, you're probably not going to get some great results. And I talked about it last time. He is doing, in fact, it's going to go up on my website. I'm writing a blog post about this at the moment, just how things actually shifted for me having worked with him. And I'll talk about it there, but he's got a couple of events coming up as well. So I will put the information for those on that blog post, probably later tonight, to be honest. Yeah, but it's over 6 years, maybe even longer, since I first bought the program. I should probably have a look in my email and check it out. Then I started changing my voice. I started learning some new concepts, some of these kinds of things, and experimenting with it. And it's still something I learned so much, and my voice is changing and getting better and better. And I'm so happy for that. But it's a result of learning and experimenting and trying these new things with a coach that understands not only how this works, but how to get you to experiment and release some of our fears and try things that then, now we get something new, where you're not going to learn much new necessarily at a gig, because there's the public pressure of wanting to sound good taking over. So we tend to just go back into our default habits. Cool. Yeah, nice. Red wine, UB40. Nice. Hard to get a good tone when I'm singing softly. Marcus, see, I mean, this is the challenge. The vocal cords naturally come together when we sing loud. And I think if you experiment with those two, singing loud, and then you don't have to drop the volume crazily, but become aware that you can change that tone to be completely breathy. Yeah, I highly recommend Per Bristow stuff, but you know that if you've watched most of what I do, because I talk about it a lot, but he has been a big influence in how happy I am when I sing, I think, because it's just much easier and I've got more range and options. So good question, Marcus. I hope that's given you some stuff to play with. And I really think vocally, experiment with your voice, especially when no one's around. It's the best, because your judgment of yourself naturally gets a little bit forgotten. So yeah, cool. If you've just jumped on and that sort of thing, if there's anything you want to ask me or fire into the chat, yeah, let me know. It's funny. I was thinking about it. It's been 10 years that I've been performing as a full-time professional musician now, which is cool. It's an odd and nice feeling. And I think I'd love to work out how many shows I've done, but the most I got to was 290 something in a year, which is a little bit crazy because I took a chunk of time off that year as well. So it meant I had a lot of crazy weeks of gigs. Cool, Marcus. With sitting down and standing up while singing and playing, there honestly isn't a huge difference. And that is tied in very closely to what we just talked about with breathing and whether your vocal cords are coming together and are connected, or whether they're kind of like not coming together as cleanly as you'd like, as effortlessly as you'd like. And that affects your airflow, and then you run out of breath. And then when all those things start combining, people say, oh, it's hard to hold the pitch and that sort of thing. Well, and then what happens, and this is what I've seen over and over again, is people talk heaps about breathing, right? Well, if we take the example that we've been talking through, is it's like, if my vocal cords are connected, there's not much air that can escape. So I don't need to focus on breathing. There's not much that can get through there. So I'll be able to hold those notes for a very long time, very easily. If it's breathy and this is the gap, then the air escapes very quickly, and I kind of, I don't have, the support that people talk about breathing properly and that sort of thing. But if we shift the focus, you'll find that you naturally have the ability to have that same option, whether you're sitting down, whether you're standing up, whether you're moving around and in all sorts of different positions, because the sound is really made from tiny muscles in here that not a lot outside of that has a lot less impact than we tend to put emphasis on. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you, man. Experiment with that concept of having this breathy sound and then having a connected sound. And if you're not sure about the connected sound, just let out something nice and loud and relax. Move your head around a little bit, like It doesn't matter if your voice is kind of like, every day it's a bit different. If it's kind of like cracking a little bit like that, like mine is today, it's good. Let it be. This is just expression and warming up and allowing the vocal cords to work rather than trying to like control them and make them work. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you play around with that, man. Nice. James, I love it. You're like, it's all about the breath support. Cool. And absolutely, it's just not quite what we think it is, because if your vocal cords are together, again, same story with like your head voice or falsetto or whatever you want to, call it, like whether it's a mixed voice, all those kind of different options. If your vocal cords are like a really breathy falsetto, then there's still a lot of space for the air to come out. And so then it's like, oh, I need more breath, but it's not really that you need more breath. It's just that if these chords can come together, then naturally the same amount of breath gives you twice as long, for example, on your note and control, and you feel comfortable with it. So it's kind of like not quite what it seems like a lot of times, the more I dive into it. Cool. And just at the very beginnings of looping and maybe singing, what were the greats first? Nice. With looping, I think it took me a while with looping to consistently keep tempo, and I would call it a milestone, but I don't know when. There was no specific day I noticed it, but I started realizing that if I recorded 4 bars, it was pretty consistently still in time, even if I recorded them at the start of the song and stopped it and then played them, brought them back in at the end of the song or something like that. So I think that was probably something for me with looping, that it was an overall confidence that it's like, oh, cool, this is now never going to be too far out. Like, yep, I might have some weird things. I make mistakes and I have to undo them and all that sort of stuff. But it was sort of like instead of being like a bad day being really down here and a good day being here, it's sort of like my bad days crept up, where it was like more and more often, everything was in time, everything was locked in. And I'd like to think this part went up as well, but who knows? It's all kind of this interesting process, I think, when you're working on stuff, and then things can be going really, really well, and you have a bad day, and it's like, so nice. Yes, excellent suggestion. Practicing with a gap click track. If you don't know what it is, I have a feeling Paul Davids mentioned it in a video a little while back. Not sure if you guys have seen that. I think it was him, but it's basically where you have a click track, and then you have it and a certain amount of time that cuts out, even like, let's say a bar, that you still need to hold your same rhythm and come back in with it. This is from our resident drummer, so I know it's good. No, it's an excellent suggestion. And in terms of singing, seeing as we've been talking about it as well, milestones for me was, I remember I wrote a song called Please, and the chorus goes above my break, and I just remember having so much joy finally being able to if you'd only say please, please, being able to actually get up there and not like waiting for it, like, if you'd only say, this is what I do before, like, I hope it works, please, please. So I would say that's like that I remember when I look back, of just such a nice milestone, being like, oh my gosh, I have some like power, I have some control, I have some options with tone, rather than just like, I hope it comes out and I hope I get the note, and like the panic going up to it. So yeah. Nice. Yeah, cool. Florian, exactly that. I kind of look at it like that a lot. My practice and training, I want to improve my top days, but a lot of it is being like, when I perform, like, this is now the bottom level that will ever happen from training. And as soon as my training and practice habits stop, this part is what shrinks back down, where it's like, it could be a really good day, but also could be a lot worse again. And the training for me brings that bottom part up. Yeah, it was exactly that. And it was like, it was so nice, because I used to sing, and after 3 hours I would have no voice, I would have no falsetto, no head voice, nothing up there, and I would really, and my range would disappear, just in my normal chest voice, both the low part of it and the high range. And so it was like, by the end of the night, I was like, I have to stop, I'm done, good night, see you later, because there was nothing left vocally. And so it's been a massive change, and it's a journey. It's something that I still work on. I still have good days and bad days, and it's still, I think, for me, a huge capacity left with my voice that I'm yet to discover and enjoy and get into. So yeah, it's all the process, and probably should drink less coffee. I'm sure someone's done a study, coffee and the effect it has on your singing voice. Who knows? But I like it and enjoy it, which is probably why like 99% of these live AMAs are me drinking coffee and chatting with you. Cool. I'm going to finish up with this, Marcus. A typical practice routine for me, it varies in chunks throughout the day a lot of times. But if I'm doing a vocal session, it's usually a minimum of half an hour, and possibly up to an hour. I don't do much beyond that, because my goal is to actually focus on a few specific things. And then I might, while I'm wandering around the house, experiment and noodle around and just sing and play things. And guitar-wise, I find I probably spend about half an hour on specific practice before techniques and things that I want to learn before going into learning songs, practicing different things. It's actually quite a small amount at the moment of focused practice. And in saying that, this last week, having come down south, I've been hanging out with family. I haven't done a lot. I've done a few little vocal things. I've really hardly picked up the guitar this week. So that's just the reality some days for me, and it's doing a bunch of editing and projects that needed to happen on a laptop and online. So yeah, that's part of how that goes for me as well. The guys on the Gig Gab podcast that happened this morning were like, "You seem so disciplined," or something along those lines. I was like, it's definitely not discipline. I really enjoy music, and I really enjoy doing these sessions, and I really enjoy creating video and thinking about like, oh, I wonder how I could create that and maybe do this. And the same with performing, touring songs. I really enjoy it. So there's nights that I will go and play a show and come home at some ridiculous hour and then play the guitar for another 2 hours because I'm really enjoying it, which seems like madness if you think of any other like job or thing like that. But that's a little bit how I go. So from Florian, what you said before, that's really my goal leading up to stuff is keep putting in some amount of time on those days where I feel like I'm being pulled in a lot of different directions with what's going on. So yeah, thanks. Hey, look, this has been super fun. There'll be a little blog post on my website, which is a mess at the moment. I'm changing it all around, and yeah, I love it. Cool. I like that. Yeah, I think there's a real value in following what you're fascinated, what you're curious, what you find fun about, because then you just naturally put a bunch of time in. And then I think there's also, you meet with certain techniques that it kind of becomes fun because you realize you're struggling with something and you want to get it happening. So nice. I'm going to take that and be like, right, it's totally fine that I'm not disciplined at all, but I do really love it. And so by default, there's a lot of playing and practice and things that happen. So thanks all for jumping on. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's been nice hanging out with you again and doing these little sessions, and it's really nice for me too. I don't know what's going to particularly appear from week to week, and I learn a lot from these chats, going back and forwards with you all, and and kind of figuring out, it's like, yep, I definitely don't have all the answers. I never will. But I love these discussions and being able to share some of these different ideas that for me, I've been very lucky to spend some time with and practice, play, and experiment with. I hope they're useful to you. So we'll see you next week. We'll see you somewhere online. I've got a new little video coming out tomorrow as well. That's like a new experiment for me, which I really enjoyed. So I'm curious to see what you all think about it when it appears. Thanks for tuning in tonight, and have an amazing morning, afternoon, evening, night, wherever you are. See you, team.